All right, yeah. So I can get started. What I'll talk about today, I'll just talk a little bit about what Cyber Patriot is. I know some of us here have heard me talk about this before, and know just on your own accord too. But I'll talk a little bit about what it is and what other opportunities we have through getting involved with the competition. And I'll talk some of the numbers we have at the high school, as well as how we've been able to build our program, because I don't remember exactly what our program status was, but I think last time I talked at one of these meetings, we were just writing the curriculum for an app development class at our school, and that's really taken off now, and it's something cool to hear about. Just in general, the Cyber Patriot competition, the SparkNotes version of this is they put students in the position of a newly hired IT professional, and you have to secure the network of a small company and secure the devices on the network of a small company. And so, in each round of the competition, you will be provided with a virtual machine that has several security vulnerabilities. And some of these are relatively simple, let's say, and kind of follow a lot of the best practices that kids really should be learning about securing their own devices. And then some of them are much more complicated, and you got to do a lot of digging online about this. And so we last year, for the first time since I've been at Randolph, at least, had a full 30 participants. And so that's really like all I can have as an individual advisor. Once if you bring another teacher, like Howard was saying earlier, into the fold, then yes, you can in theory have more teams. But yeah, so we had a full 30 students participate, and 5 can participate per team per round, until you make a sub, and then a 6 can come in. But anyway, we had a very new team in general last year. So last year's senior class, there was kind of like the opposite of a bubble in computer science courses. So we didn't have very many seniors participating, and one of our gold teams from last year was exclusively made of juniors. And so they're all coming back this year and, ready to kind of take their last crack at this year. But then I don't know the exact number, but I think we probably had about 12 freshmen participating last year for the first time. I always really try to push them to do that at the beginning. And I let them know at the very start, especially before you go through training materials, that they won't really know anything at first. And that's why you want to get involved as a freshman, so that, by the time you're a junior or a senior, you can really do some real damage in the competition rounds. So that was really great. And, I think maybe like 1 or 2 are not doing it again this year, but most of them are back this year as well. Last year, we also had a team of entirely girls participate for the first time, and then there were a couple girls that participated on another team. This year, of 26 people currently signed up, 8 of them are girls, which, we don't know exactly how we'll distribute everybody among the teams yet. But, it's just really nice to see an underrepresented group, having the opportunity to really participate and thrive in a competition like this. So there's some other opportunities that you have during the competition as well. So one of those is you do a networking quiz just on some of the basics of networking, and then you also do what's called a packet tracer exercise, where you kind of simulate a typical small company network and how information is transferred through that. And what I think is so important about this competition at our school is a lot of our courses at the school are programming focused, and this one provides that IT and cybersecurity. This competition provides that IT and cybersecurity stuff in addition to that. So I think that's really, really cool, and it's just a great way to get kids involved in a computer club. And so what I think really shows the effect that, Chapter 195 sponsoring this for us has really done over the years is we just had our first computer club meeting the other day, and I think 60 people or so showed up to it. That's how many we have on our virtual Microsoft team at the school participating in the club. And there were about that many in the auditorium room that we had to rent out in order to even have the meeting. So that was really, really cool to see just the sheer number of people interested in participating in this, because we like to push our new members into something like Cyber Patriot at the very beginning and get them started early. But some other things our school has been able to do recently. So, we have three of the classes I talked about last time I was here still run at our school. So we have two AP classes, AP Computer Science A, where they use Java, and AP Computer Science Principles, where they learn some Scratch programming, but then a lot of stuff beyond just programming. And then we have a Python Java programming class at our school that kind of is in between those two. And what I think has been really cool over the past few years is a new app development course we opened up. So one thing I can kind of show you here, and it's not going to be like super beautiful on my phone, but here I have these three apps like on my phone. So we got Run Mapper, we got something called Assigned. It's probably backwards for you guys too. And we have lots of clocks right here. And these are actually three apps on the iOS App Store that students that took my app development class made. And so, you can go and find them on the App Store now and download them. And I can't take all the credit. Okay. The Assigned one, he made that before the class, but this Run Mapper app was kind of a project we had in this app development class that the student then went and took kind of to the next level and decided to put on the App Store. And so like what that one does is, if you go on a trip or a run or a jog, walk, whatever it may be, it will kind of track your route in real time as you go on that route. And then you can save it afterwards, say like, oh yeah, I felt really good on that run. It took me 8 minutes or so. And you can compare that, in future runs along the same route. Which I think is pretty cool. And then the Assigned one, that's kind of a school planner, and it actually integrates with like our grade book that we use as teachers at Randolph High School. So that's really cool. And then this Lots of Clocks app was developed by another student, and it lets you organize alarms into folders. So you can throw alarms for, cooking in one folder. And, since I know someone like me never gets up at the first alarm clock, I can throw my multiple morning alarms into a folder as well. So, I think that's really cool to see that, these kids come into Randolph and they maybe pique their interest through competing in this Cyber Patriot competition. And then as they progress through our classes and learn some programming skills, it can really turn into a tangible product at the end of the day. And, one that even, I know the student who wrote Run Mapper has some ads in there. So in theory, he could actually monetize his project results, I guess, at the end of the day. So I think that's just kind of a really cool thing, and shows that, a lot of the ideas that we've tried to be innovative with at Randolph in, developing new classes and things like that. I think it's really given the students some creative opportunity to express themselves. And that's pretty cool. So I just know, once they leave Randolph, just taking my classes in general, they have the opportunity to learn the Scratch programming language, Python, Java, and now a little bit of JavaScript in app development, as well as another block-based language called Thunkable. And then they even learn some basic command line stuff through the Cyber Patriot competition. So there's really like 6 kind of programming languages that you have an opportunity to learn in high school. And I know I didn't have the opportunity in high school to learn even one. And I think that's just, part of what really makes that possible for us is having students not have to, pay $50-$60 or whatever it would be to start out as freshmen in Cyber Patriot. And that's really where things begin for a lot of these people.
Well, Matt, will that impress college recruiting?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I hear I hear great things from students. They'll go and email me after they graduate, once they start taking their classes, and I'll hear things like, "Oh my gosh, the first project we did in my introductory computer science class, we basically did in your class last year." And these are students, so I regularly hear from one that goes to Georgia Tech, and Rice University, and your Rutgers University, NJIT, Stevens, and these old students reach out to me and say, "Hey, I think I was able to get into this great university just based on my knowledge and experience in this field, and then once I get there, I even see myself thriving relative to some of my classmates having had this experience."
Mhm.
Good.
How about the technical aspects? In other words, do you have your IT department help you set up the virtual
Yeah.
machines?
So that is a wild question, especially given the challenges of last year. So what we actually had to do last year is, hey, we looked at the school year and we were like, well, we're doing hybrid learning in general last year. Again, we're doing hybrid learning where nobody's in the building at the beginning of the year. And then there really weren't opportunities to meet after school last year either, at least in person. And so we kind of recognized that we're going to have to conduct this competition virtually. And so what our IT department actually did for us last year is they built each of the students who needed one that were involved in Cyber Patriot a virtual machine associated with the school's network. And then these students actually then loaded the Cyber Patriot virtual machine onto the school virtual machine that they had access to, and completed the round in there. And so that was something that, I had students that, we were like trying to kind of get them to download the right software and all, but we were recognizing that, different people are going to have different levels of comfort in doing that on their own personal computers. And so we felt that if we could just get them to the point where we get them to log into a virtual environment where all the required software is set up for them, it would help in the long run. And I mean, the fact that we were able to successfully even compete last year with a situation like that on hand, I think is a huge credit to our tech department in general. I mean, there were kids we had competing last year in Cyber Patriot that I actually just met this September in person for the first time because they just weren't in school all of last year. And so that was a really interesting, to say the least, challenge that we had last year, and one that we're going to probably have to address in a few ways this year as well. But at least we can have after school meetings now, and use the desktops in my classroom for once.
Yeah. Okay. So in other words, last year it was virtual. Every team member was virtual.
Right.
I mean, working together as a team, but from home.
Yeah. So what I would pretty much be doing is we usually did this either on, the competition windows usually run from like Friday through Sunday, I think it usually is. At least that's when we've always done it. And so, these 6-hour blocks, I have to be available to the kids if they need any technical support or anything. So what I'd be doing in those times is I'd be setting up like virtual meetings through our school interface so the kids could talk to each other through that, while these kids also on their own machines are managing virtual environments to actually complete the competition. So it was definitely a logistical challenge, to say the least. But, I think the fact that we were able to make it work is definitely a testament to how dedicated the kids are and how strong our IT department is.
Yeah, that's very good. So in other words, you had the virtual environment of the virtual machines to begin with, and then you had the kids zoomed in together,
Right.
participate in the competition. And,
Yeah.
And then you had five team members, and then there was a spare. You had a
Yeah, exactly. So what most of them did, there was one team last year where just one of their members, like the dates just didn't end up working too well. But what most teams did is about, so how it works is if you have like a sixth member, if they're going to participate, they can replace somebody at any point during your 6 hour competition window. But once they replace that person, they're there before. You can't like keep switching out. And so what most teams would do is after about 3 hours, one member would leave for one reason or another, and that sixth member would get in. So everybody got to be involved at some point, but they pretty much worked that out on their own. I didn't have to get too involved with that particular point.
Okay, but the competition is a 6 hour window, and you can select a 6 hour window that you want. Well, between Friday and Sunday, something like that.
Right.
But
exactly.
it's continuous, right? 6 hours, 6 hours.
Yep. And so what I just had to do as an advisor in that window is just maintain my online availability in case they have any major problems.
So when do you normally do it? On a Saturday, you say from 8 to whatever it is.
Yeah, most teams last year chose Saturday to do it. There were a couple who chose that Friday night. So when school ended at 2:30 or 3, they went from then until 9 p.m. But it pretty much, it didn't make too much of a difference to me, and there wasn't really a whole lot I had to address during competition rounds itself. At the end of the day, the kids are pretty tech savvy. The trickiest thing they had to do last year was just we were waiting a while, understandably, to have these virtual machines even set up. And so there was only so much training we could do leading up to the actual competitions. So that was probably our biggest challenge last year, and one of those things we want to address this year. Just making sure we have more time to really dig deep into the training modules and the training images.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Excellent. Well, it's wonderful that you're participating. I do know that other local teams, there's the 3 teams at Morristown High this year. I think that's the first time that they've done that.
Oh, great.
And yeah, it's too bad that there's a drop off. I hope they're, like you say, the last minute teams come in.
Yeah.
Because 56 versus 104 last year.
Right.
Could that be COVID?
Well, we certainly appreciate it.
Caused? Could that be COVID caused?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think it's certainly a possibility. I mean, even getting that message out about being able to participate was definitely a challenge last year, and I think the fact that I have 4 computer science classes at my school really helps with that, because I can make that announcement at the beginning of a class period, right? Well, if you have less computer science classes at your school, then there's only so many kids you actually see in your classroom. And in a year like last year, trying to get a message out to an entire school population really turned into, well, let's hope the kids are looking at the right Microsoft Teams page, And so what we, I think we had an advantage there of saying like, hey, we have this large population that is directly in contact with a computer science teacher that can kind of push them towards doing this. And so I wouldn't be surprised if other schools weren't able to get that message out of like, hey, Cyber Patriot is a thing. And I wonder if they've just seen a drop off in interest just because they more or less lost a year. I mean, who knows? Maybe enrollment just pops up over the last couple of weeks where they're able to register, and let's hope so, right? But
Sure.
That would be my guess.
So, Matt,
Right.
the Air Force Association is providing training materials for training the team. Is that the way that works?
Yeah. So there's there's always some information on the Cyber Patriot website, and this is really where we push our kids to start. And it's like it's PowerPoint presentations, but going through those things, particularly in the first round, you can get a decent number of points. There's some of the like basic things that you have to start with. There's also training materials. The kids all get like access to what exactly they call it, Cisco Netacad website. There's a lot of training materials on there, both for the typical Cyber Patriot IT section of the competition, but then also for the networking quiz I was talking about and the packet tracer exercise. So there's training materials there. And then one thing I want to do this year in particular is I want to reach back out to some of those old students I hear from and see if they are interested in being technical mentors. Because some of these students that have graduated were the ones that were really on our platinum tier teams over the last several years. And, once they graduate, that's a valuable resource that's no longer with everybody when they're doing the training modules. So I think if we can kind of reach out to some of those older students and have them serve as technical mentors, I think we could give in a little better training this year.
Improve the quality. Yeah, exactly. And so,
I-
so the AFA supplies a virtual machine for them to practice their technique on. Is that what?
Yeah, so they provide a few training images. There's
Okay.
a couple different rounds. I think they call one a training round and then one like a preliminary round. But there's a couple different kind of training rounds you can go through before things start to really count. And yeah, our biggest challenge is just making sure that the kids or the school computers can load those images.
Yeah.
And that
so-
they don't run into web filter issues while they're trying to delete certain things from them.
And so the cybersecurity mainly focuses on the desktop or the client side and a little bit of the network, and it doesn't really touch anything about servers at this point.
Yeah, it's particularly on the client side. So the networking stuff I think is even a little more the other exercises. So the packet tracing exercise as well as the networking quiz. But yeah, a lot of it is, I mean, it's as simple as like, okay, well, only these users are authorized on this computer, so let's figure out how we get rid of unauthorized users, right? So different things like that, deleting certain types of files and folders and all that good stuff.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Matt,
So-
I had a question. What would motivate a freshman to join the Cyber Patriot program?
Yeah. So it's a tricky thing because on the one hand, like I said, I kind of tell them at the beginning, you're going to look at this at first and you're going to be like, what am I even looking at? How do I even start? And that's where those training materials really come into play. But what I kind of tell them is, hey, you may be coming into this school and you don't really know what club you want to join and you don't really know what these different clubs do and things like that. Here's something where there's a tangible goal, right? The goal is you're trying to fix security issues in a computer and earn points with it. And there's even like, the prospect of a prize there. Will you one day be able to go to nationals? Will you one day be able to earn scholarship money? Who knows? And so I think, giving them that concrete, like here is a goal to work towards thing is very important. And then what I tell them too is like, hey, listen to what I'm saying right now. You're not going to understand this at the very beginning and it's going to take some work, but you can get to the point where you are the expert in the classroom and you are the expert on the team with this. But the way other people have done that in the past is starting out as a freshman. And so I try to kind of really push that, get started on this early, and then watch what happens over the years as you kind of like say, okay, we knew all this from last year. Now that's my starting point, and how can I advance that a little bit in the next few years?
Yeah. And like you say, they can apply it to their own equipment. So that's a useful skill that they can carry through for a number of years,
Yeah,
make sure that their
I think
stuff is okay.
I think that's one of the really important things here too. They hear all this stuff of like, okay, well, don't let somebody use your computer if you don't know them and things like that. Well, this teaches them how do you actually do that?
Right.
How do you actually say, oh,
Prevent people.
there is an unauthorized user on my computer. What do I do about that? Another underrated thing about this too, I think, is, Cyber Patriot is very transparent that they're like, you can go through every single training module and it's not going to have everything. Like, you're never going to be able to earn every single point, even if you read every word on our training modules. And so what I think is nice about that is part of the skills that the kids have to do here are they literally just have to Google how to do things, and see what they can find online about, trying to accomplish certain tasks, and have to apply that information to the actual competition. And, this isn't like Googling the answer to a homework assignment where you're just saying what's, 2 + 2. It's more like Googling how do I perform addition and then applying it to 2 + 2, So I think something like that is definitely a useful skill. I mean, I've heard from IT guys in the past that half of the issues they get brought are things they solve just by being better at Googling than whoever the user of the computer is. So hopefully our kids can do that too.
I worked in IT support, and Google is my best friend. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
a lot of solutions there.
Yeah. So we have this year at Randolph, all the kids have had the opportunity to get a personal device from the school, a school issued device. And there's now a duty period for some teachers that is literally just called tech support. So if teachers are having a problem, or if kids are having a problem, they can send them to the library real quick and we'll help fix their computers. And like, there are times when it's just going to be me saying, okay, let me Google this real quick and see if there's anything I can do.
Yeah, because someone else out there had the same problem and they put it up on the web. And so it's a lot easier to search, find it, and see what the solution is.
Exactly. Stack Overflow is one of our favorite websites.
Okay, any more questions?
Yeah, I have one. Matt, tell us a bit more about these girls teams. Is this the first year you've had girls on any team?
Right. So it's not the first year we've had girls on any team, but last year was the first where we had enough for an all-girl team. So in the past, it's been, there were 1 or 2, and they were just on a team with everybody else. And, of course, that's fine. Most of these girls, when I talk to them, they don't really say we have to be on an all-girl team or we have to not be. That I don't think they see it as like, oh, we're the girls doing Cyber Patriot, which I think is a good thing. I think one of the reasons girls are sometimes hesitant to get into this computer science stuff is because like it's such a big deal when they do. And I don't think we need to do that necessarily. I think we just have to encourage participation with that as well. But last year was definitely the first year we had more than maybe 2 or 3, probably. I think we had 6 or 7 last year, and we're up to 8 right now in this year. I don't know if that'll increase with our last 5 spots or so, but this is the most we've had in the past, which is pretty cool.
A very broad question as follow-up. Is there still any lingering thoughts that, girls are not good at science and math and technology? Like 50, 80 years ago, they were just no good. Of course, that was wrong, but that's the way it was. And girls would not go into engineering, anything techie. But now it's known that they are darn good. But my question is there still any lingering, is there any reticence on girls' parts to any lacking confidence to go into tech and math and, well, what do they call it? There's the STEM.
STEM.
Right.
And I have 2 daughters, and so I know firsthand what was going on.
Right.
Years ago.
So the best I can say for that is not on my part, and not that I've heard. You know, I'm sure there's people out there who are, I don't know what the best word for it is, set in their ways, or not, you know, not willing to kind of have a broader perspective on things. But what I see from my standpoint is I have girls that are some of the strongest students in each of my classes. And anyone who thinks they can't do, you know, what these things that have been associated with one gender or another over the years, anyone who thinks they can't do those things as well as boys is just not paying attention at this point, you know. And
Good.
yeah, I mean, there's girls in my very advanced classes at this school who are just dominant with the material, quite frankly. And it's great to see. And I don't see them in my class. I don't see them as like the girl in the class. I see them as a strong student in the class. And that's really what it boils down to.
That's good. That's good to hear. Because I generally, I think women are smarter than men, but that's my opinion. Could be influenced by my wife. That's great. Thanks. Thank you. Any further questions for Matt? Well, we certainly appreciate.
Can I ask one more?
Sure. Right ahead.
You'd be interested, Howard.
Provided Matt's.
You said Matt, you're limited to the number of Cyber Patriots teams you can have because you're limited to 30 per teacher, 30 students. Is that indeed the case? That's the limitation, that I think you had said if you got another teacher, you could double that.
Yeah, in theory.
Is there any teacher prospects coming along?
Yes, actually. So, this is one thing Howard actually mentioned too, right before. I actually think we had 3 or 4 on here at the time. But anyway, I actually this year have another teacher who is kind of helping me out with a combination of computer club as well as our esports club that we have at this school. So we're kind of like splitting some of the duties with those different clubs. So, you know, yeah, if I go, you know, into school Monday and say, okay, hey, you know, I have some Cyber Patriot spots left, who's interested? And I get 15 more people telling me they're interested, and that brings us over 30, then I think it's certainly viable that that other teacher can be an option to kind of take over those teams and create his own volunteer account and those kinds of things. There's also there's 2 other teachers at the school. He's one of them, and you know, we have a third teacher now who are all associated with the AP Computer Science Principles course. So I teach basically 5 different sections of computer science courses at this school. And these 2 teachers each have 1 section of AP Computer Science Principles themselves. So we have people at the school willing to learn the material and be involved with this kind of stuff. It's great.
Good.
So this is considered a club at your school? Is that it? Or is it an actual course at the school?
So we consider computer club the club, and then Cyber Patriot is I would say our primary focus through the fall and the beginning of winter. Not the only thing we do, but just, you know, another thing. And then for the past 2 years, our school's really tried to push esports for the kids too. So much so that my classroom actually has 6 gaming computers inside of it. But that was always also a division of computer club, and it got big enough over last year that our school actually approved a separate club just for esports. And so that's another club that we have about 60 people signed up for right now, which is really, really cool.
So the 30-person limit, is that because of the size of the room, or is that, I mean, I could see that as far as regular courses go, there might be a limit Because
Yeah,
if
so-
you have too many, you can't really teach them effectively. But a club
Right.
is a little different.
That's just when a coach or advisor or whatever you want to call it for Cyber Patriot creates a volunteer account on the website, you can only register up to 5 teams, and then a team can only have 6 people on it in
Oh,
particular.
Gotcha.
So, but in theory, if another teacher registers a volunteer account, then you're up to 60.
Okay.
So, I got one question. I'm also involved with Civil Air Patrol, and there's a squadron that meets at the Morristown Armory on Wednesday nights, and we have a small group of cadets. But I'm not sure if there's going to be interest there or not. But for a coach like yourself to register, teams. What kind of, I mean, you're an AP computer science teacher. What kind of skills would they need, do you think? I mean, generally.
So this is an interesting thing, because lots of times I think coach is a little bit of a misplaced word sometimes for me. I think the technical advisors associated with Cyber Patriot teams are the ones that you really want to go to for help. I mean, one thing is I've not competed in the Cyber Patriot competition in the past. Like, this definitely wasn't a thing back when I was in high school or anything like that. So sometimes I feel that when they're doing this, like even in the training rounds, there's only so much I can do to really help in certain scenarios. So what I think one of the most useful things a coach or advisor could do is, have gone through that competition in the past. And this is why I particularly say I want to reach out to some of my old students who have done it in the past, and see if they're interested in that kind of thing. But I guess that would be my best answer. Like, if they had an IT background, or if they've gone through this actual competition in the past, I think that's one of the best places you can really start.
Yeah, that would be good if they had that. But if you don't have that, you can still you can get mentors assigned to your team.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Have you attempted to that, or you just rely on your own IT department as the mentors?
yeah. So right now that's pretty much all we've done for right now. But yeah, there is a checkbox you can click when you register a team saying like, hey, we need a technical mentor. And that's definitely an option we can pursue if older students don't work out.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Matt, I'm going to predict that you'll be pleased at the response you get from your former students. Let's hope that happens.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
too.
they'll be just pleased. Oh, yeah, maybe thank you.
Exactly. And it's just one more of those things. One thing I like about teaching in general is that I feel like if you can get yourself to the level where you're prepared to teach something to somebody else, you are then an expert in that topic, or at least you should be, right? And so I think, it can only further my former students' level of knowledge by providing them that opportunity to teach it to current students.
Sure. That's an excellent point. Well, thank you, Matt.